Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. In today's tutorial, we're going to be making this beautiful bustier top with a sweetheart neckline. If this seems like something you're interested in, do not forget to like, share and subscribe, and let's get started. From the top of my pattern paper, I went ahead to rule out a straight line which is going to stand as my shoulder point. And from this shoulder point, I'm going to be marking my bust point, which is at 10.5, my under bust point at 13, my waist at 16.5, and then my full length at 21.5. I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side. Then I'll also go ahead and use my ruler to mark a straight line. After ruling out the straight line, I'll go ahead and label my points: my bust, my under bust, my waist, and my hemline. From my shoulder point, I'm going to mark my neck width and my neck depth. I'll be using 3 by 3. I'll then use my curved ruler to form the neckline. From this shoulder line, I'm also going to take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8. From the shoulder point, I'll go down by 1 inch to form my shoulder slope. Then to get the chest line, I'll be dividing my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5, which gives me 7.5. And then I'll just go ahead and rule out a straight line. For better explanation, you can just go up by 2 inches. I'll then label my chest line and my shoulder line. I'll go ahead and insert my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 4. I'll input it on the bust, the under bust, and the waist, and also on the M line. I'll then connect with a straight ruler. To form my armhole, I'll divide what I have from my shoulder slope and chest line by 2. I'll go in by 0.5, and then I'll just go ahead and mark my bust measurement divided by 4 and connect the 3 points to form my armhole. I'll go to my shoulder line and then I'll divide what I have there by 2. I'll then connect it to my bust point using a straight ruler. To get the dot I'll be using, for the part going towards the center front, I'm going to be marking 0.5 on the bust, the waist, and on the M line. I'll then connect with my straight ruler. For the part going towards the side, I'm going to mark 1.25. If you're on the bustier side, I'll advise you use 1.5. I'll then use my ruler to mark a straight line. I'll be connecting my dot legs from my under bust to my bust point using a curved ruler. I'll be forming another chest line. From my regular chest line, I'm going to go up by 1.5. You can go up by 2 inches if you feel like you want it more covered. So I'm just going to use my ruler to mark a straight line. So this is going to become our new chest line. On both sides, I'm going to mark 0.5 and I'm going to use my curved ruler to connect the points. To form my sweetheart neckline, I'll be going up by 1 inch from my bust point, and then I'll use my ruler to connect from the dot leg back to the middle. For the part going towards the side, I'm just going to connect from my chest line back into the armhole using my curved ruler. I'll then start replacing the dots that I took and also impute my full body measurements. I'll repeat everything. For my waist, I'll mark my waist measurement and then I'll impute the dots that I took. And then I'll also mark my hip measurement divided by 4 plus the dots that I took. After getting the measurements, I'll then use my curved ruler to form my body shape. After connecting, I'll label my pattern, my side front and my center front. And then I decided to write cut and fold just in case if I don't want to have a separation in the front as it's shown on the picture. But if I decide to not cut and fold, I'm going to have to add 0.5 on all the edges where I'm going to stitch together. To form the basque, I went ahead to mark 2.5 and I'm just going to use my curved ruler to connect. And this will be all for the front pattern. The parts that are shaded will be cutted out, and these are my front pieces. I'll go ahead and use my scissors to cut out the pattern. So this is all for the front pattern. To get the back pattern, we're going to be using our paper tape to hold down the front pattern just the way I'm going to do here. I'm just going to use my paper tape to tape it down, and I'm going to bring in my back pattern. So for my back pattern, I'm going to mark 1.5 for my zipper allowance, and then I'll go ahead and rule out a straight line. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my front piece and I'll place it on the zipper line. I'll use my paper tape to hold it down. I'll then go ahead to use my marker to trace out what I have exactly from the front pattern to the back pattern. This is going to save you the stress of drafting the pattern from the beginning. I'm also going to take note of my chest line, and I'm just going to use a ruler to connect the points. I'll use my straight ruler to also extend the points to the zipper. Also need to take note of the waistline. I'll just use my ruler to connect the point. To eliminate the zipper badge, I'll mark 0.5 on the waistline, and then I'll connect it to the beginning of my pattern. I'll also connect it from my waist to the end of my pattern. I'll then go ahead and cut out my pattern. This is it for the back pattern. I'll bring in my front piece and I'll try and separate the front patterns. You can either cut them out or just remove the paper tape gently. So this is all we have for the pattern. I'll just go ahead to cut it out on my fabric. For my fabric, I have 4-way stretch and my lining. I went ahead to hide an interfacing for both pieces. I also went ahead to mark my stitching allowance. I added 0.5 on the sides that I'll be stitching together, and for the part going towards the side, I added 1 inch. I'll just go ahead and cut all my patterns. After cutting the main piece, I'll also use the same pattern to cut out my lining piece. So this is what we have for the front piece. I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing for the lining. And then I'll also go ahead and bring in my back pieces. I'll go ahead and stitch them by my body measurements. I went ahead to pin it down. I'm just going to stitch it and bring it back. This is what I have after stitching. I'm just going to go ahead and trim out the excess. So this is what it looks like from the inside after trimming. I'll go ahead and iron it out. And now we're going to be working on the sleeve. From my center, I'm going to mark 6 inches. I'll also do the same on the other side. From the 6 inches marked, we're going to be pleating in our sleeves from there. To get the measurement that you're going to use for your sleeve, you want to measure your shoulder to your under bust. Whatever you get there is going to be your sleeve length. So mine is 6.5. I'm going to go ahead and double the measurement. So I got 6.5 and then I decided to add 0.5 for stitching allowance. The measurement I got was 14, so I'll be using 14/9. And then I'm going to bring my sleeves and I'll be pleating it from the 6 inches that we marked. And I'll use my pins to hold it down. To note where your sleeve will stop, you want to mark 1 inch from the side front and then pleat it in. So this was it. And then for the back, I'm also going to mark 1 inch from my side and I'm going to go ahead and pin in my sleeve. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side so you can see how I pleated it to the back. So this is what I have after stitching the sleeves. I'm going to be inserting a already made cup in this bustier top. And to get where the cup will be sitting before you pin it down, you want to measure your shoulder to your under bust. Mine is 13. I'm just going to go ahead and use my pins to secure them before tacking it down. So it's meant to sit in this way. I'm just going to go ahead and use my needle and thread to just tack it down. I'll make sure the stitches does not show on the right side. So this is what we have. I'm just going to bring my lining piece and I'll pin it down, and I'm going to also pin down the bottom, and I'll go ahead and stitch by my sewing allowance, and then I'll bring it back to show you guys. After stitching by 1/2 inch, I'm just going to go ahead and trim out the excess. After trimming out all the excess, I'm just also going to go ahead and notch all the necessary parts before flipping it over to the other side. After flipping it over, you want to make sure you give it a good press so that everywhere can sit properly. So the bust part doesn't lose shape, I'm just going to bring in my bust hem and use it to also iron it out. After giving it a good press, I'm also going to insert my hemming gum all around the neckline to avoid the lining showing on the main piece. After inserting my hemming gum, I'm going to use my iron to iron then the hemming gum so that the lining can stay in place and also the main piece can also stay in the proper place. Now that we are done giving it a good press, I'm going to stitch in my zipper. To stitch in my zipper, I like folding in the allowance that we have, and I'm going to give it a good press. I folded in 1.5 and I'm going to give it a press. I'll do the same thing to the other side. I'll give it a good press as well. And then I'll also bring in my zipper. To insert my zipper, I'll just put in the zipper through the allowance. I'll stitch the edges of the zipper in. And I'll make sure I stitch very close to the edges. And this is all we have for this tutorial. I hope this tutorial was helpful and educative. If so, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.